their constituencies. And so, it is my pleasure to introduce tonight's first speaker. She is no stranger to you here in La Horquetta Talparo, being the former Member of Parliament for a constituency that was named Aruka South. You, La Horquetta, fell within her jurisdiction. She is a former government senator. She is the current Member of Parliament for the constituency of Aruka Maloney. She is serving with distinction as the Minister of Social Development and Family Services. We in the PNM know and love her as the Lady Vice Chairman of our party. La Horquetta Talparo, would you please welcome the Honorable Camille Robinson Regis.
Good evening, La Horquetta Talparo. Good evening to the political leader of the only true political party in Trinidad and Tobago. Good evening to the Honorable Keith Rowley, the Member of Parliament for Digomartin West and the returning Member of Parliament for Digomartin West and the returning Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago. Good evening to the incoming Member of Parliament for Arima. Good evening to the incoming Member of Parliament for St. Augustine. And ladies and gentlemen, more than anything else, good evening to the incoming Member of Parliament for La Horquetta Talparo. As my colleague Laurel said, I was once the Member of Parliament for Aruka South, which included La Horquetta. So for me, it is always wonderful to be surrounded by persons you love and who love you in return. Perhaps in another life, ladies and gentlemen, the constituents of Aruka Maloney will allow me to return to this constituency. You see, ladies and gentlemen, the constituency of La Horquetta Talparo is one that creates miracles. In 2015, against the juggernaut of a rampaging UNC, Maxi Coffee swept through this constituency and consigned Jairam Simangal to the political cemetery. It is this same Maxi Coffee who recovered miraculously. And today, Foster Cummings is going to beat Jerlene John so soundly that she will never raise her head again in politics. Ladies and gentlemen, even as we gather here tonight, in these sober surroundings, there are two less than sane women going around this country talking all kinds of dotishness about how they will create 50,000 jobs over the next 5 years. You all believe that? These women are telling people they will stop the sale of Petrotrin, even though Petrotrin was never sold. They are telling people that they will revitalize Caroni Limited and they will set up a national infrastructure fund to finance their continued rape of the Treasury. And they want to do that along with taking your money from the UTC and the NIB. Ladies and gentlemen, you will recall that it was under George Chambers that the UTC was set up. You will recall that it was during the time of that PNM administration that the Unit Trust Corporation was established so that the little person in Trinidad and Tobago can have an investment and get some interest. Let me ask you a question tonight. How many of you gathered here this evening, or how many of you listening to us on the radio or looking at us on the television have a little savings in UTC? I'm sure nearly everybody here has savings in UTT. I want to tell the 617,000 unit holders of the various funds managed by the Unit Trust, and that is almost half of the voting population. If you want to see that kakada that you have in the Unit Trust, put your X by the Balizé come August 10th. There are many parents who on the birth of their children start a Unit Trust fund for them. There are many newlyweds who prefer a Unit Trust investment when they get married. And now we have Kamla and Jerlene John up and down La Horquetta telling you that they care about you, but they want to take your money from Unit Trust and from the NIB. Tonight we telling them, keep your grubby hands off our money. It was the same Jerlene John who, in relation to what happened at the airport, called it a feeding frenzy. Those are her words, ladies and gentlemen, not mine. She described the behavior of her colleagues as a feeding frenzy. McCandle Dagger, you all remember, described their behavior as scandalous, noting that it was a corruption that was so endemic that it was as though they had invented corruption. You all remember that? David Abdullah walked away from the partnership for the same reasons. In a classic case of pot calling the kettle black, Jack Warner warned us about them and their corrupt ways. The single thread running through all of those comments is the level of thievery, the level of corruption, the level of greed that passes for good governance when Kamla Persad-Bissessar and the UNC are allowed to run this country. Make no mistake, ladies and gentlemen, the central bank has told us that there are over $500 million still outside because they couldn't take it to the central bank to exchange it. So they're coming now for your money in the UTC and the NIB. Just as you say no to drugs, just as you know that it is not safe to drink and drive, I'm asking you tonight to don't let any drunken driver take over the wheels of governance in this country. Every economist, every business writer worth their salt spoke about their crazy idea with the Unit Trust and the NIB. Imagine Indira Sajawan, who doesn't usually say anything in support of the PNM. In fact, she was a UNC at one time, sat in the parliament. Vanesh James, he recently mounted a PDP platform in Tobago to say all kinds of negative things about the PNM. But this is what he said about Kamla's plan. And I quote, "The overall promise of a balanced budget over 2020 to 2025 is not likely to be feasible in the context of a depressed economy post-COVID. COVID and in the context of a promised reduction of various tax rates, individual, corporate, and consumption. This is what Indira Sajawan had to say. We must recognize that the document is simply for the purpose of public relations. And Curtis Williams also had his say on them, and I quote him. He said, where the UNC fails is in the many promises that it cannot and will not keep. One, like running a balanced budget from 2020 to 2025. At the same time, promising significant increases in subsidies and transfers, whilst reducing personal and corporate taxes. He goes on, unless the UNC expects massive economic growth, the likes of which the country experienced briefly in the early 2000s, and huge increases in energy prices and production, it is nothing but fanciful thinking. Ladies and gentlemen, you know that all they are doing is talking dotishness, because they're just talking for talking's sake. And it is the same way that they're talking their dotishness about COVID. You hear what they're saying about COVID? We will go on sun by the pipe. You heard that one? We don't necessarily have to wear masks. We don't necessarily have to keep the social distancing. We don't necessarily have to do all of the things that the scientists have been telling us. They also, if you're not careful, they will also open the borders, because they are claiming that the Prime Minister is preventing 10,000 people who want to come home from coming home. You all heard the Prime Minister's explanation on that today. But they will go down the road saying, and I could bet you, if you don't make the right choice, on August 11th, the borders will be opened. Make no mistake about it, ladies and gentlemen, these are not right-thinking people. Let me ask you another question. And I want to go back a bit to the track record of Kamla Persad-Bissessar as she governed this country before. I want to remind you that during her incarnation as Prime Minister, Standard & Poor's downgraded Petrotrin, right? Moody's downgraded Trinidad and Tobago's credit rating. Over $200 million was raided from the NGC to spend in UNC constituencies. Under her watch, live sport took the lives of many young men. Under her watch, Vanilla Allen Toppin accused our political leader and his deceased father of rape. We will never forget that. And we must never forget that. Under her watch, our opposition leader, as he then was suspended from the parliament. The first time that had ever happened in a Commonwealth country. Under her watch, corruption reigned in the Children's Life Fund, that fund that she said that was so dear to her heart. Corruption reigned. Over her 5 years, 25, I repeat, 25 cabinet ministers were fired, replaced, or forced to resign. Under her watch, $350 million was paid in fees to the AG's legal friends. I am saying to you tonight, and I'm not finished because I'm going back to some others, we must bear in mind Matthew 7:16. By their deeds ye shall know them. Thank you, Irene. I know you're reading your Bible. Let me remind you all of something that is very, very telling as it relates to this constituency in particular. The person who is presenting herself as the person to be the MP for this area, I want to remind you all of something. And again, I'm going to quote. On April 27th, the AG's office refiled the claims against Jerlene John, Henkel Lal, Greg Davis, Peter Ford, Project Specialists Limited, Ronald Hiralal, Point Lisa Spark Limited, Anthony Sampat, Patrick Suting, and Everett Ross for inter alia unlawful means, conspiracy, breach of fiduciary duties, and bribery. And the candidate who is presenting herself against our illustrious General Secretary is accused in proceedings which allege, among other things, bribery and a conspiracy by those who control the HDC and others to use public funds to acquire property known as Eden Gardens at a cost substantially greater than its market value. On February 3rd, 2010, Point Lisa Spark Limited purchased Eden Gardens for $5 million. On November 28, 2011, Eden Gardens was valued at $52 million by a reputable private valuation firm. On November 9th, 2012, HDC purchased the Eden Gardens lands from Point Lisa Spark Limited for $175 million. So it moved, ladies and gentlemen, from $5 million to $52 million to $175 million. The claim outlines how the eventual payment of the grossly inflated sum for the lands was a direct result of the failure of key personnel who controlled the Housing Development Corporation at that time to exercise their duties as public officials by taking reasonable, responsible, and sensible steps to conduct due diligence on the transaction and the value of the land being acquired. And so, ladies and gentlemen, the defendants were all parties to an unlawful means conspiracy. I ask you tonight, ladies and gentlemen, is that the kind of person you want to be the parliamentary representative for the constituency of La Horquetta Talparo? No. Never, never, never. And ladies and gentlemen, I want to just take 1 minute to remind you of something. I want to remind you that under the leadership of Kamla Prasad Bisesa, all of these things happened. And you know the saying that when a dog sucking eggs, they don't stop? I am sure that Kamla Prasad Bisesa has not changed. And it is up to you to ensure that they do not see the corridors of power again. And I just want to make one statement, particularly to the young black men in La Horquetta Talparo. The UNC is doing its best to discourage people, especially young people, from voting. They are now even going so far as to attack and undermine the Elections and Boundaries Commission, a commission which has scrupulously carried out its mandate to conduct free and fair elections since 1962. We know that they are targeting young men in La Horquetta, Talparo, in Tunapuna, in St. Joseph, in Chaguanas East, in Pointe-a-Pierre. In fact, they are targeting these young people in every area where they know they will not win. Rather than encouraging them to participate in the democratic process, they are discouraging them from voting. Tonight, I want to say to these young people that you are worth more than $300. You are worth more than $500. You are worth more than $2,000. You are worth more than that, and you must understand that. You must also understand that you cannot treat voting as an errand to run. You cannot treat voting as something that you're just doing because, but you must treat voting as your democratic right and your right to have a say in the development of your country, the country that you call home, the country that you want to see a special place for yourself in Trinidad and Tobago. That is your right, and you must exercise that right. But ladies and gentlemen, what we have before us is really a fight between two different types of leadership. The choice for us as people of Trinidad and Tobago is a choice between leadership, good leadership, and greed. That choice is between a national party that has fought every single seat in every single election, and others who pick and choose where and when they fight. That choice is between a leader who is more concerned with what is best for the national population and one who is more concerned with who frequents her house in the Philippines. That choice, ladies and gentlemen, is between a party with sound, sane, sober policies and one that comes up with their policies after spinning a bottle or two. That choice is between a leader who has a vision and, according to the UNC's Tunapuna candidate, someone who cannot lead you out of a paper bag. That choice, ladies and gentlemen, is between the PNM and everybody else. As for me and my house, we are voting PNM. So I say to you tonight, on the night of August 10th, after we all sign our name with the Balizé pen, the whole of La Horquetta Talparo will join me in Aruka Maloney, will join Penny in Arima, will join Renuka in St. Augustine, will join our political leader in Diego Martin West, and will join all the others in Balizé House as we sing lustily and loudly, "Great is the PNM, great is the PNM, great is the PNM, and we shall prevail." Thank you.
The truth has a certain sound to it, and ladies and gentlemen, that was the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Thank you very much, Madam Incoming Member of Parliament for Aruka Maloney. Ladies and gentlemen, the next speaker is also no stranger to you here in La Horquetta Talparo. Many years ago, the villages of Brazil and San Rafael fell within the confines of the Arima constituency. And so tonight, our next speaker by profession is an attorney at law. By calling, she is a servant of the people. She is a former councillor in the Arima Borough Corporation for the electoral district of Arima Northeast. She went on to become an opposition senator. In 2000, she was elected as the Member of Parliament for the constituency of Arima, and she has held several ministerial portfolios, including social development and public utilities. She is a former Deputy Speaker of the House of Representatives. She is the former President of UN Women. She currently serves as the Trinidad and Tobago's permanent representative to the United Nations in New York. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to present to you the PNM's choice and the right choice for the constituency of Arima, Her Excellency Penelope Beckles Robinson.
Thank you very much, Laurel, Public Relations Officer of the People's National Movement, the Honorable Dr. Keith Rowley, Prime Minister of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, and our next Prime Minister following the August 10th elections 2020. My fellow candidates, the next Member of Parliament for Aruka Maloney, Mrs. Camille Robinson Regis, the next Member of Parliament for St. Augustine, Mrs. Renuka Sargramson Suklal, and of course, your next Member of Parliament, the Honorable Foster Cummins, the next Member of Parliament for La Horquetta Talparo, Chairman of the Tunapuna Piauco Regional Corporation, Mr. Kwesi Robinson, and other councillors. Good evening. Good evening. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, we have but one decision to make on August 10, 2020. Do you want to place the management of COVID-19 in the safe hands of a government that has followed the science and the experts in the field of public health care? Or do you want to face the continued threat of the pandemic led by people who in this day and age believe that sunlight and folk medicine will kill COVID? I can tell you that this is because in relation to the management of COVID, there are many lessons to be learned about good governance. Disaster preparedness is not only about batteries and cricks. It is what a good government plans for, so that when the time comes, the scientists, the managers, the logistic planners, and the social services are in place and ready to come to the rescue of our people. COVID-19 raises another question that is central to our future. It is one that asks, which team is better prepared to manage the financial affairs of the country and lead us back to good economic health and long-term sustainability? Which team has fielded people of experience and qualification and the good judgment that is so necessary when you want to lead from in front? Which team can best manage institutions like the NIB and the UTC when others now show their hands and their plans to raid the treasured institutions of the people? In Trinidad and Tobago, we have real issues to confront. And to do that successfully, there are two things that we need as a nation. The first is for all of us to be responsible. The lives we save could be ours or those of our loved ones. The second thing we need is a government that understands the risks and is willing to act in the national interests, even when decisions might not be popular with everyone. Both of these things are in your hands, and in La Horquetta Talparo, you have a candidate who is part of that responsible government that we need. He has served as a PNM senator, both in and out of government. In government, he has been a parliamentary secretary in the Ministry of Local Government and Rural Development. These are excellent credentials for anyone destined to represent the diverse community of La Horquetta Talparo. PNM people, members of the listening public, I am here this evening as I have been on the trail these past few weeks to support Foster, who I strongly believe is the best candidate, the right fit, and the choice for this constituency of La Horquetta Talparo. Of course, I feel a special relationship with this constituency. As a matter of fact, we are sister communities. As we have a common boundary, which is the Arima River and the Aripo Savannas. So when you see me walking with my brother Foster, and you also saw that I also walked for the local government elections with Derek Laguerre, it is because I am comfortable with this area. Many of you may not know, but when I left San Fernando to come to live in this part of the country, it is because my father worked in Trinidad Home Developers, and I can remember this area many years ago that was basically forest and mud. What is this area now? The People's National Movement has built phases 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 and 7 to make it the largest housing community in the Caribbean. So good people of La Horquetta Talparo, good people of Diego Martin West, good people of St. Augustine, good people of Aruca Maloney, good people of my beloved Arima, good people of Trinidad and Tobago, wherever you are watching and listening, the future of Trinidad and Tobago is in your hands. At your fingertips, really. Wake up and know what time it is. Now is the time to ensure financial management, not cronyism and partisanship. And now is not the time to give serious thought to pass through politicians to buy favor with short-term projects. You can choose a capable, caring, careful government led by a more than competent captain. That is, of course, the People's National Movement. Or you can choose to be fooled by a careless, carefree, cantankerous group that only seeks to sow confusion and division. They offer you a wish list and tell you it is a plan. Meanwhile, the only plan they have is to raid the NIB and the UTC so that they can continue the squandermania and spandemania that you voted to stop in 2015. August 10th is about keeping La Horquetta Talparo and all of us in Trinidad and Tobago as safe as we can be, following the guidance of our healthcare experts. August 10th is about continuing the good work and the fiscal discipline to keep our nation on an even keel. August 10th is about ensuring that your future and the future of your children are in the hands of the best team to manage the affairs of our country. August 10th is about the right choice. The People's National Movement is the only party that has been steady and sober in our thrust to create infrastructure and environment that enables our citizens to progress and prosper. We continue to implement long-term solutions to ensure that those in marginal, rural, and urban spaces all enjoy the quality of life they deserve. We, the People's National Movement, are here to preserve you. We see you striving, thriving, paying your taxes, your contributions, and saving for a better future. Today we stand and assure you that we will never rob you of your hard-earned savings. We stand and assure you that we will not compromise the future of the NIB, which we see has been a safety net in trying times. The PNM is the right choice for this nation. We need your vote of confidence on the 10th of August so we can continue developing infrastructure that enables your innovation and establishes a diversified economy that allows for greater distribution of wealth for all the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago. On August 10th, vote for Camille in Aruca Maloney. Vote for Foster in La Horquetta, Talparo. Vote for Renuka in St. Augustine. Vote for Penny in Arima. So that way, we must beat them in the east. We must beat them again in Diego Martin West when you vote for Dr. Keith Christopher Rowley. And on August 10th, make the right choice by voting for the People's National Movement. I say, as I close, great is the PNM, great is the PNM, and we shall prevail.
Dignified, diplomatic, and dedicated to the people of Arima. The next Member of Parliament, Mrs. Penelope Beckles-Robinson. La Horquetta Talparo, I ask you to please extend a warm welcome to your sitting Member of Parliament, the Honourable Maxie Cuffy and Mrs. Cuffy. And you know the Bible says there is a season for everything. And so, as one season moves on, yes, Irene, I could quote the Bible too. And so we move from one season right here in La Horquetta Talparo, but we continue by building stronger communities. Ladies and gentlemen, the next speaker is absolutely no stranger to any person of the 30,000 odd registered electors and their families in this constituency. His ancestral lineage comes from right here in La Horquetta Talparo. He has impressive PNM credentials. He was the first chairman of this constituency when it was established around 2005. He was the youngest chairman of a PNM constituency at age 19 in Couva South. He's a former National Youth League treasurer. He's a former party youth officer male, former party elections officer, former party field officer. And ladies and gentlemen, he currently serves as our party's general secretary. And dare I say, one of the best general secretaries we have ever had in this People's National Movement. He currently serves as a government senator and a parliamentary secretary in the Ministry of Rural Development and Local Government. He is a father, a friend, and a philanthropist. He is, ladies and gentlemen, the best choice and the only choice for La Horquetta Talparo. And you will respond by telling the UNC that La Horquetta Talparo is not for sale, and you will be voting for our next speaker, Mr. Foster Cummings.
Pleasant good night to you beautiful PNM people. Our political leader and Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago, Dr. the Honorable Keith Christopher Rowley, Our Lady Vice Chairman, Honorable Camille Robinson-Regis, the next Member of Parliament for Aruca Maloney, the next Member of Parliament for Rima, Ambassador Penelope Beckles, Renuka Sagram Singh, who's going to whip the UNC in St. Augustine. La Horquetta Talparo has turned into a battleground. And I have one word. Let me also recognize, before I move on, please allow me, my friend and colleague, the Member of Parliament, Maxie Coffey and Mrs. Coffey. They have been up and down the streets of La Horquetta thinking that they can buy voters in this community. I have planned to start to distribute some of those pens that can check counterfeit money. And I say to the young men of La Horquetta, I will give you the counterfeit pens. And as long as it's not counterfeit dollars, if they want to contribute to your grocery bill, by all means say thank you to them and vote resoundingly for the People's National Movement. And I have another word for them. Because you know, they are not very righteous. They are corrupt. I say to them, yea, do I walk through the valley of the shadow of death? I shall fear no evil, for thou art with me, thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of my enemies. Thou anointest my head with oil. My cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life. And I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever and ever. As your next member of parliament for La Horquetta Talparo, because there is only one first place in this race. And I reserve the first place for the PNM and for Foster Cummings in La Horquetta Talparo. Anybody else could take second place. During my engagement with the various communities, I've listened to your concerns, and this has influenced my plan moving forward. Our constituency is one that is rich in talent. Ambitious and committed individuals reside here. And together we will harness these strengths and create a brighter community for all of us. As a nation, ladies and gentlemen, we have faced unprecedented times, mainly because of international economic circumstances, the effect and the effects it has had on our own economy. Today, we have to grapple with the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic. Your government has been able to stabilize the economy and keep public servants employed and kept us afloat without us having to resort to the International Monetary Fund. You deserve a round of applause for that, Prime Minister. Know that your government, your PNM government, under the leadership of Dr. the Honorable Keith Christopher Rowley, the man from Mason Hall, is determined to offer good governance to Trinidad and Tobago, morality in public affairs, and to run this country in the best interest of all the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago. As your next member of parliament, my vision will be to support and drive the building stronger communities throughout this constituency. I remain committed to the development of the constituency of La Horquetta Talparo and to each of you and towards the realization of your fullest potential. I am clear about what needs to be done. That's why I'm in this race to win. And the process that needs to be followed. And I pledge to you tonight to continue along a path of improving all lives under my watch in this constituency. I will advocate on your behalf regarding the issues facing the constituency and aggressively lobby to bring solutions to alleviate the problems within our constituency. As a government and as a party, we are committed to partnering with every citizen who is willing to contribute towards the development of our economy and our people. As I campaign throughout this constituency, people come to me day after day with brilliant ideas, brilliant suggestions. They want to contribute, they want to be a part, but most importantly, they want a people's national government, national movement government in office. Because they know under the PNM, they will get responsible government. We continue to provide good and equitable and transparent governance to move this country forward. My approach, ladies and gentlemen, will be data-driven, people-centered, and will at all times pay due attention to the needs of the constituents with compassion and with sensitivity. My friends, our Vision 2030 National Development Plan provides a broad socio-economic development framework for Trinidad and Tobago. To realize Vision 2030, each citizen's collective support and commitment is required to effectively plan and operationalize the future we envision for ourselves and future generations. This task is not unsurmountable, for we are a people with enduring capacity to create from our social diversity. This resilient nation boasts of significant achievements and the ability to maintain a peaceful coexistence where every creed and race finds an equal place. Aligned to our government's vision and performance-driven plan, La Horquetta Talparo constituency will continue its building efforts on three main pillars: training and education, economic sustainability, community and infrastructure development, and environmental sustainability. It is my intention to move towards stimulating small business and to promote entrepreneurship within this constituency. As I said, we have a lot of bright young men and young women with brilliant ideas who the PNM has afforded free education, even free tertiary education. Some of them very skilled in various areas. And under a PNM government, we are going to provide the guidance for them so that they can get involved in small business, become successes, and create employment within the community of La Horquetta Talparo. That is our intention. That is what we will do. That is what we pledge to do. My friends, the PNM government is just what we need in Trinidad and Tobago. We have already, the Cabinet of Trinidad and Tobago has already commissioned the construction of various facilities within this constituency. We have seen the construction started on a new community center for this constituency of La Horquetta. And my understanding is that there are 2 more community centers carded for Wallerfield and for Greenvale. And we welcome these developments as we move forward and as we plant our feet in La Horquetta Talparo to make this a model constituency in Trinidad and Tobago. A new PNM government will ensure that we continue the infrastructural development in terms of road, bridges, and drainage across the constituency. And I know that many persons during my walkabout have asked for the construction of a new library in La Horquetta for our students in this community, this largest housing development in the Caribbean. And I give you all assurance tonight that I am going to have discussions with the next Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago. And I am sure that when I go back to my seat and I say to him, the people of La Horquetta want a new library in La Horquetta for the children of La Horquetta, that he will certainly say to me, yes, you will get that library in La Horquetta once you elect the PNM back into government. I know what I'm saying. He's a man of vision. Listen, you will be called upon to make one of the most important, that was for Miss Norville, right? You will be called upon, ladies and gentlemen, citizens of Trinidad and Tobago, to make one of the most important decisions that you have made in a very long time, tied to the future of Trinidad and Tobago, tied to your future, the future of your children, and the future of generations to come. In the first instance, you're required to choose who will lead Trinidad and Tobago as this time as Prime Minister. What do you need in consideration of that decision? You need a strong leader. You need a statesman, a man with a proven track record, a record in leadership and integrity, a man who has offered us leadership that kept us safe during this pandemic, one who has guided this country through difficult times, your current Prime Minister and Member of Parliament for Digo Martin West, the Mason Hall man, the man from Mason Hall to Whitehall. Ladies and gentlemen, I offer to you for consideration to continue on as Prime Minister of this Twin Island Republic, Dr. the Honorable Keith Christopher Rowley. And I know that you right-thinking citizens of Trinidad and Tobago will not allow God to lead your mind and your consciousness to go towards the selection of any other candidate for that position at this time. On the other hand, well, you were here between 2010 and 2015. Most of you, if not all of you. And you firsthand witness the mismanagement, the corruption, the lack of control, the poor work ethic, the poor diplomacy, the poor excuse for leadership, and plant-like substances abound. And so you know what choice you have to make. You make a sober choice and you vote to ensure wherever you are in Trinidad and Tobago that we continue under the leadership of Dr. the Honorable Keith Christopher Rowley. As you make your choice, ask yourself the question, who is more suitable to occupy the office of Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago? I think the answer is now very obvious. For you in La Horquetta Talparo, my family from Brazil, my friends, those young at heart, nobody likes to be called old in La Horquetta Talparo. The beautiful aging population of La Horquetta Talparo, you have a serious choice to make and a very clear choice. You vote for the best candidate for the job for MP of La Horquetta Talparo, one with a proven track record. I dare say he is currently the Parliamentary Secretary in the Ministry of Rural Development and Local Government. If I'm to give you an additional hint, he is the General Secretary of the People's National Movement. He worked with his mother as a market vendor in the Couva market, and some say today is a seasoned businessman, proven and tested in management skills. A man of the people, a God-fearing man, a family man, an accessible man, an honest man, a man of truth, and one who will be here for you in good times and in bad. Ladies and gentlemen, in La Horquetta Talparo, you vote for the people's choice, the first place winner in this contest. Vote solidly for Foster Cummings as your next Member of Parliament. Now, during this campaign, I have focused my attention on what I can bring to the table. I've offered myself as your candidate, and I've resisted any attempt to focus on the useless opposition in Trinidad and Tobago. I will continue to run my campaign this way, but I have one thing to say to the young people of La Horquetta Talparo, and I hope that you are listening tonight. Your vote is not for sale. Your hope does not reside in Project Hope, 2 better lettuce and 2 better pak choy. We have a farming plan that can take you and transform you with your ideas into productive business people, allowing you to realize your fullest potential. We will guide you to the maximization of your full potential. It will not be based on short-term promises made to you by the opposition. But put your trust in God first, and then put your trust in the People's National Movement. We will hold your hand. We will walk with you. We care about you. And together, we'll achieve the best for all of us in this constituency of La Horquetta Talparo. On August the 10th, make the right choice. Vote PNM. Vote PNM. Vote PNM for good governance in Trinidad and Tobago. And we will be able to sing on the 9th in victory song, great is the PNM. Great is the PNM. And we shall prevail. I thank you.
shepherd in the Baptist faith as well. Your next member of parliament, a man for all seasons. And ladies and gentlemen, I take you a little west of this constituency. She is a mother, a daughter, a sister, a wife, a friend. She's a former teacher and a current attorney at law. She serves on the Public Relations Committee of the People's National Movement. And she made her maiden contribution as a platform speaker, not presenter, platform speaker on Wednesday in the St. James Women's Platform. And she has proven to be explosive, exciting, and scintillating. And just as she is on the platform, she will be as the next member of parliament for the constituency of St. Augustine. Trinidad and Tobago, St. Augustine, La Horquetta, Talparu. Let's rally for Renuka and let's welcome the PNM's standard bearer in the constituency of St. Augustine, Mrs. Renuka Sagram Singh Suklal.
Allow me to acknowledge the political leader and Prime Minister of our great nation, the Honorable Dr. Keith Christopher Rowley, our beautiful chair of tonight's proceedings, whom I have the distinct honor of calling my sister from another mister, Miss Laurel Lezama Singh, the Honorable Camille Robinson Regis, candidate for the constituency of Aruka Maloney and Lady Vice Chairman of the PNM, Mrs. Penelope Beckles Robinson, candidate for the constituency of Arima, also Ambassador and Permanent Representative of Trinidad and Tobago to the United Nations, Mr. Foster Cummings, candidate for the constituency of La Horquetta Talparo, General Secretary of the People's National Movement, and Parliamentary Secretary in the Ministry of Rural and Local Government. You see there, he wears so many hats. It's difficult for me to keep up to speed. So let's give Mr. Foster Cummings a round of applause. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the viewing and listening public, members of the media. La Horquetta, how are we feeling? Talparo, how are we feeling? On the 10th of August, we have a most important responsibility before us. This responsibility hinges upon 41 choices. Brothers and sisters, for the past month or so, since the election bell was rung, from east to west, from San Fernando to Tobago, we have been wearing our red uniforms and holding our balize high, watching to the sky as we count down the days until victory is won. Day after day, we pound the pavement as we all support the People's National Movement. As PNM supporters, I know and you know we are an army. We are red and always ready. We are an army. Why? Because we are strong. We are strong in political battle. We are defenders of good values and ethics. We are equally gentle with communities under our charge. We are educated, not just in a school book sense, but to the troubles that face the most challenged in our society. This Red Army, we deal humbly with those around us, but we battle fiercely for that which is right. Our North Star as the Red Army is compassion. We are passionate soldiers. Our passion makes us rational because our passion makes our goals clear. We are disciplined soldiers, moored by a tradition founded on putting country first. Our soldiers are intelligent people. Our soldiers are diverse people. And we have tremendous potential. Our soldiers, we can do incredible things when we saw on our watchwords discipline, tolerance, and production. Of these soldiers, 41 lieutenants has offered themselves to serve you, the people of Trinidad and Tobago. We, the 41 lieutenants, do so with humility, gratitude, and a clear knowledge and understanding that it is because of your faith, it is because of your trust in us, we stand here before you as the defenders of the PNM. It is because of you, our soldiers, and because of your collective voices, the 41 lieutenants who will lead us to victory on August 10th, stand before you. We do not take this responsibility easily. When elected, we are prepared to give our sweat, we are prepared to give our tears, and we are prepared to do all that is necessary to serve each and every one of you. Each of your 41 lieutenants recognize the magnitude of the challenges we are faced with as we lead our nation to recovery. Your 41 lieutenants have offered to serve, not for personal gains or personal interests, but because we each want to make a significant and a positive contribution to this beautiful twin island. Are we afraid of the task ahead? No, brothers and sisters, we are not afraid. And I will tell you why. We are not afraid because of the leader of our army. We are not afraid because of the leader of our army who carries the name Dr. Keith Christopher Rowley. We are not afraid because our leader, he leads by example. We are not afraid because our leader knows an inconvenient truth is better than a reassuring lie. We are not afraid because our leader promises good governance. We are not afraid because our leader is a man who will listen to you. We are not afraid because we know brick by brick, our leader will rebuild this nation. We are not afraid because our leader is a visionary. We are not afraid because we know our leader will sacrifice for each and every one of you. We know our leader will sacrifice for us. Brothers and sisters, there is only one right choice to be made on the 10th of August, and that right choice is the PNM. To the Red Army, on August 10th, everything we do here will mean absolutely nothing if you do not go out in your numbers and stamp your X by the Balize. So I say to you, I humbly urge you, I ask you, I beg you, in the name of our country, to go out on August 10th and vote for the PNM. To the undecided voters amongst us, brothers and sisters, this election is about leadership. This election is about selecting leaders who can truly build a new society. This election is not about pipe dream, smoke and mirrors. This election is about those who are willing to work and continue to work. This election is about service. This election is about giving the young people like myself a chance to work to serve you. This election is about the future of our country. So make the right choice and vote for the PNM. The PNM is the only choice. To the young people amongst us, your voice is crucial to this election. Our ancestors sacrificed for this right for us to vote. Let us not take that for granted. Your needs, young people, are beyond Wi-Fi, battery life, and data. Your needs are beyond $300 wrap up in a t-shirt. Do not let anyone insult your intelligence. So especially in La Horquetta, Telparo, to the young ones in this community, go out and vote for the right choice, the only choice, Mr. Foster Cummings. Finally, brothers and sisters, today I also ask you to go out in every other 41 constituencies in every nook and cranny of our country and vote for the PNM, for we are the right choice, we are the only choice. Brothers and sisters, I ask you to do your part to ensure that we have a tried, trusted and tested Prime Minister, this man right here, Dr. Keith Christopher Rowley, who is the right choice, who is the only choice. If you care about our country and the direction of our country, country, the PNM is the right choice. The PNM is the only choice. I ask you on August 10th to vote for leadership, vote for a future, vote for honesty. And this is what I always live for this moment. And brothers and sisters, on the night of August 10th, when all is said and done, and we have placed our votes and victory is won, we will all come back here and we will sing in one united voice. Say it with me. Great is the PNM, great is the PNM, great is the PNM. We shall prevail.
Ladies and gentlemen, you see the caliber of candidate the PNM puts forward to the national population? That is because we have a leader who is good at making decisions. So when you discover Renuka with her rare acumen, you choose her to go up in St. Augustine. When you discover Camille Robinson Regis, who has served as an ambassador, as a high commissioner in Canada, and as leader of government business, you put her to run in Aruka Maloney. This election is about making good decisions, and I encourage you to rally for Renuka in St. Augustine, Trinidad and Tobago. And La Horquetta Talparo, rally for Foster, and we in Arima, we will rally for Penelope Beckles Robinson. In 2010, Trinidad and Tobago made the worst mistake of its life. Right or wrong? Right or wrong? We made the worst mistake. By the time 2015 rolled around, Trinidad and Tobago had found itself forcibly plunged into the abyss of despair, pandemonium, and near bankruptcy. Trinidad and Tobago was rudderless, we were leaderless, and we were almost hopeless. The poisonous ill effects of Cambridge Analytica, of the PR stunts about change and we will rise, had taken its toll, and the national community was battle-weary, fed up, and in need of leadership. So when in 2015, Trinidad and Tobago, with your support, Dr. Keith Rowley was elected as our Prime Minister, he met nearly depleted financial resources and challenging circumstances the world over. And he was forced to make hard decisions for our country. And Trinidad and Tobago, with the advent of this global pandemic, we need a leader who is able to take the right decisions, be they hard or not, in the interest of every single citizen of Trinidad and Tobago. So when on the one hand, you have a WhatsApp group of people, some of whom are based in Trinidad and some of whom are based in the US, which really is a UNC party group with local elements, including many UNC candidates, former attorneys general, and former ministers of government, pushing those people to call for legal action against our country, you know that that is not the leadership that you want or you deserve. But Valerie in Point Fortin, Nizam in Cuba, Kwesi in Tobago, Greg in Arima, Gia and Sabrina in St. Joseph, who have all reached out to the PNM, non-traditional PNM supporters, endorsing the leadership of Dr. Keith Rowley, Trinidad and Tobago, I ask you to stay the course and make the right choice. And so, La Horquetta Talparo, Trinidad and Tobago, the People's National Movement presents to you its prime ministerial candidate in the person of our party's choice for the constituency of Diego Martin West. We present to you a man of honor, a strategic thinker, a leader, a politician extraordinaire, a father, a friend, and the person Trinidad and Tobago needs in 2020, 2021, 2022, the person to lead the government of Trinidad and Tobago. La Horquetta Talparo, Trinidad and Tobago, would you please welcome tonight's featured speaker, our political leader of the People's National Movement, Dr. the Honorable Keith Christopher Rowley.
Thank you very much. Our enthusiastic and energetic chairlady of this evening's proceedings, Party PRO Laurel Lezama Leasing. Permit me, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of La Horquetta, to acknowledge on the head table here tonight the Member of Parliament for Arouca Maloney, and the next Member of Parliament for Arouca Maloney, Mrs. Camille Robinson Regis. I acknowledge in the audience the Member of Parliament for La Horquetta Talparo, and the next Member of Parliament for La Horquetta Talparo, Mr. Foster Cummins. And to my left, I welcome home to the battle the winner in Arima, next Member of Parliament for Arima, Her Excellency Penelope Beckers Robinson. And of course, they say the new brooms sweep very clean, and it's sweeping time. Renuka Segram Singh Suklal for St. Augustine. And we couldn't have this presentation tonight of all these PNM candidates and not present the Member of Parliament for Diego Martin West, the returning PNM candidate for Diego Martin West. Ladies and gentlemen, I always feel good about this constituency. Horquetta Talparo. It always reminds me of my days as deputy political leader of the People's National Movement, when this constituency was created, and I had the assignment of being the first party officer to speak to our members and supporters here in this part of the country. I love Horquetta Talparo. It has been said tonight that this constituency is largely made up of probably the largest housing estate and certainly the largest state-built housing program in the Caribbean. There are approximately about 25,000 people in and around this area. And in that population, there are probably about 10,000 persons that you can call young people. And one of the difficulties we have as a country is that we have not been sufficiently successful in absorbing all our young people into productive activity, especially activity that will develop them to the maximum potential. We have to acknowledge that. And many of those young people, not just here in La Horquetta, Talparo, but elsewhere in the country, especially those young people who grew up in urbanized areas like this, where there are limited opportunities for them to get involved in outside of where they live. Many of those young people drift off into crime and other dangerous activities. And as a result of that, they find themselves being labeled, they find the community being stereotyped, and in some cases, despised. This is not new, and it's not peculiar to Trinidad and Tobago either. It's a problem of development. Even in older countries, with cities that are much older than our country, urbanized populations have that problem of an inability to absorb their young, and many of the young go astray in the way I've just described. And I remember in 2003 being a member of a government that sought to grapple with that problem. And the problem was being grappled with in the context of the maxim that special problems need special solutions. Otherwise, you won't be able to deal with the problems because the solutions might not be what is useful for other difficulties. And I remember going to the parliament and voting in a budget. The Prime Minister then was Patrick Manning. And I voted in the budget for a special program to deal with the problem that had emerged, not emerging, that had emerged as a thorn in the side of the national community, where young African males who largely lived in urban areas or urbanized areas like La Horquetta, like Laventille, like Enterprise, like some parts in Carenage, those young males were developing in a way that was very troublesome for the country. And a study was done, and it was determined that the way to do is to refocus them into education, to educate themselves so they can participate properly in the national economy. That was passed in the House that I was a member. I voted for that. A few days later, after the budget was passed, with that in it, approved by the Parliament, the budget went to the Senate. And I happened to be passing through the Senate to meet Wade Mark, taking serious issue with what had been passed by the House to try to solve the problem of the unproductive and dangerously developing urban black males. That was 2003. 17 years ago. This caused a problem because I intervened in the debate and sought to defend the government's position and sought to justify that we have to have special solutions for these special problems. And for that, I was called a racist, and I was described in the worst possible way. And so furious was the attack on me as a minister of government standing to defend this initiative that the rest of my colleagues backed away from it because the UNC was so resolutely opposed to our government intervention in treating with this problem. A child that was 3 years old then is today 20 years old. And one that was born on that day is today 17 years old. And one that was 17 years old is today 34 years old. And all of them is young people in this country. And the problem is still there and got worse. Got worse. Got worse to the point where 2 or 3 weeks ago, somebody in interacting with the police, armed and dangerous, shots were fired, people were killed. And what happened after that? A whole army of young people, these same people, turned on the nation and came into the capital city and literally had to be forcefully restrained from destroying the country. Some of them came from La Horquetta because the same people who opposed the program to steer them away from that, came in here in La Horquetta and organized them to come in town to confront the government and to confront the police. And putting into their head that the police is their enemy. I want to say to all those young people tonight, the police is not your enemy. Your enemy is Wade Mark and the UNC that prevented you from being guarded away from them. And you would ask yourself, who would do a thing like that? What politicians in any country would see the country being threatened by that development and would stand in the way of resistance and then would organize them to turn like a cancer on this own country. No, who will do that? Let me tell you who will do that. Because I have another experience to tell you. I came in here with you. Norville, you know that, right? I came in, she was in the first group that I met. We go back that far, you know. Right? And we brought Maxi Coffee to you here. Maxi Coffee didn't start off in politics. Like me, we start off somewhere else, made our contributions elsewhere, we were identified, and we were brought into the politics. Maxi was a contributor to this nation, its development, and he came into the politics. He won the seat with your support, won it handsomely. They labeled it a marginal seat. So when the PNM wins a seat by 3,000 or 4,000 votes, it's marginal. But you have never heard them say once that Sawa Laventil, Sawa Bartara is marginal, that they won by 500 votes. You would never have heard them say once that Chaguanas East, that they won by less than 1,000 votes, is marginal. But Maxi's seat, that was won by almost 4,000 votes, that marginal. And Toko Sandigrandi is marginal too. And Tobago East, that we won by 6,000 votes, that marginal too. Well, you can beat them by the margin, you can beat them on the head, you can beat them by the foot sole, and they would not just talk about marginal seat. But I tell you about them. Maxi was serving you, and he got ill. Any of us could fall sick anytime. Any of us. None of us take money and buy illness. And some of us look hale and hearty, and the next day you hear stories to make you cry. Maxi in office got sick, seriously ill. You would not believe that while he was fighting for his life, what was the behavior of the UNC? What was the behavior? First, opposing any assistance from the government. Well, I authorize the assistance and I stand guilty for that. Secondly, as he was fighting for his life, they're demanding by-election. Because as far as they were concerned, he was dead, as good as dead. As a matter of fact, on a number of occasions, they spread rumor that he was dead. And then after that, as he made his miraculous recovery, while he was making that miraculous recovery, they were threatening to go to the courthouse. Because they love courthouse, eh? I mean, for people with such criminal records, you will think they want to stay far from the courthouse. They were threatening to go to the courthouse to make argument that the constituency was not being serviced. That is how they reacted to a colleague who was fighting for his life. But when another one in Miami, running from the police, hiding from the police, they were not concerned about Princess Town not being serviced by an MP who hiding from the police. Understand? I tell you this so you can understand what we're dealing with. So up comes in that same behavior towards Maxi and the same thought that this seat is marginal. Income pak choi politics. All of a sudden, they know that you are needing their help here, and Jolene arrives here in La Horquetta Talparu, digging up all over the backyard, planted pak choi. And pak choi is the answer to the future of the little black boy that Gypsy sang about. And of course, all money that central bank don't want, that you can't carry to the bank, they're giving you that too, and telling you to vote them into office. And when they come in, they will change the money for you. That is their offering to the development of the people of La Horquetta. And walking around telling people they have La Horquetta. Tonight I want to say to all the people of La Horquetta, parents and children, you have nothing to do with that foolishness. You have a vote, and you use that vote sensibly and wisely to a party that first provided you with accommodation, secondly, provided you with infrastructure, thirdly, provided you with education, fourthly, provided you with support in the social program, and that leaves the country with dignity and respect. So while they are offering you pak choy and all the $100 bills that cannot be legal tender, tonight you heard what the candidate offered you: a library. A library. Because it is the use of education, however you use it. However you use it, it is the use of education and a desire to learn, to improve oneself, that will lift the people of La Horquetta from where they put you, where they have you, where they see you, out of the pak choy bed that they brought for you. Education. Because a library in La Horquetta is not just about books, paper books to read. It's about the digital age. It's about the age of technology, and many of our young people here in La Horquetta, boys and girls, they are prime and ready to take part in that digital age of Trinidad and Tobago, which this government offers you. So you're going to get your library, sir. And we have done something already. We have done something already which you here need to know about, you here in La Horquetta. As Prime Minister, I'm the only Prime Minister who took into my office an advisor on agriculture. There is a Ministry of Agriculture with a minister, but in the Prime Minister's office there's an advisor on agriculture. And the reason for that is that I wanted to be involved from my office in the big decisions to impact seriously on our agricultural production. And you start with ideas and you convert it into action. Just north of you here in Aripo, the government operates 1,200 acres of what you know as Aripo Livestock Station. I'm sure there isn't one person or maybe two people from the whole of La Horquetta who is employed there or was employed there. But it's there. Over 1,000 acres of good land. And in repositioning agriculture in this country, we have to make it attractive to our young people and to investors. Those are the two things you have to do, because the old farmers have either died off or they are too infirm to be able to carry out the agricultural effort that the country had before. So you need young people to get involved in agriculture. You need persons with money to invest in agriculture, because government money in agriculture tends only to pay salaries for workers. But you need investment in agriculture with a picture of a profit-making enterprise which the government has made tax-free, so that private monies can really come into agriculture and do what we need to do. So the government, by proper, transparent process, has passed that farm into the hands of the private sector in what we call a public-private partnership. 15 minutes away from here. The program up there, which is going on right now, is aiming to operate a farm up there which will have over 1,000 head of cattle, which will double our milk production and significantly contribute to our meat production. That's going on right now as part of our program. Well, let me tell you what's going to go on again after that. Immediately after the election, when we win the election and I'm sworn in as Prime Minister, we will continue in that direction, and it comes to La Horquetta in this form. Somewhere in La Horquetta will be a handful of young men who would want to get involved in agriculture. We will find you and we will direct you to agricultural activity. Because we have found the lands that are available for the same way we found the 1,200 acres there to move it from 200 cows to over 1,000. We have found the land. So when we come back to La Horquetta after the election is to find the farmers, whether it's 1, 2, 22 or 222, I know we'll find some young men here and young women who would want to make agriculture an enterprise in which they can make a living. We will find and we will give you public land, and we will assist you with housing on those public lands, and we will make farmers out of you. That's what we're doing. So you see, we're not coming to plant pak choy in the neighbor backyard and try to give you money to go and vote. Because what I want to say to you, anybody who coming to give you cash to go and vote, watch that person very carefully. That is a person who is somebody to watch. They either have a motive that is not in your interest, or they have a question to answer as to where you get all this money from. And as we do that, taking some of our young men and women into agriculture in lands in around this eastern district. And not all farmers require fertile soil to farm, you know. Modern day technology. You can farm on the most barren of lands because all you need is a substrate. You can use any material to make a substrate and you feed nutrients into it and you have a modern farm. I went to visit a farm in Orange Grove there where they're growing lettuce. High-class lettuce that go to high-class restaurants. It's grown in a container. UV lights, like a disco. And lettuce growing vertical on a wall in a container. Right here in Trinidad, right there in Orange Grove. You could put on a nice white shirt and a shiny shoe and go to farm and don't get soiled. So we're going to take some of you young people into that. And there are others who may not want to get involved in agriculture because they all can't go the same direction. But I tell you what, we will build in this zone, in this La Horquetta area, a youth camp. And that youth camp would be big enough to probably hold 300 or 400 students. And out of that youth camp will flow a line of people who are skilled in providing the nation, not just La Horquetta, the nation with the skills that we require for maintenance and other kinds of activities where the country is now greatly short of. We started this in Laventil, the Success Laventil Center. That moved very slowly because in those days when we started it, marijuana was illegal. And a lot of young people from Laventil who should have gone in there were prevented from going in there because they smoked a marijuana joint. That is now behind us because we have decriminalized marijuana. So no longer is your future stymied and even destroyed because you smoke a marijuana joint. There are people who smoke marijuana and become president of the United States. But in Trinidad and Tobago, you smoke a marijuana joint, you can't get into school. So you understand where we're coming from? Instead of pak choi politics, we are bringing to you a future of great promise. So when we spend government money, it will be to prepare the land that we're going to put you on. It is to support you in your endeavors. It is also to operate a marketing business where farmers, as they produce, should not have to worry about what happens to the produce that they're made available. You go to the market 1 week and the price is 10x. You go the following week is 1x. You go the next week, you can't sell it. We have to go back into marketing to keep the farmers alive, which means we establish prices, and those established prices would be reasonable, and they will be available to the farmer to produce a lot of, because it is out of that that we'll get food security. Out of that, we will save foreign exchange. And you people in the kitchens at home and outside, change our diet, please, from salt and fat that is imported in pretty packets and go back to our traditional diet. Grow what you eat and eat what you grow, and we could never starve. Could never starve. I was very pleased the other day when I posted a bit of my backyard recreational garden at the Prime Minister's residence. There was an overwhelming reaction from people in this country saying, I want to do that too. And many persons have started it because I receive a series of flood of people showing off their garden to me as to what they planted and what they have and what they're giving away to their neighbors. Can do it. So when something like COVID hits us and we discover we can't buy food because the world is saying to you, we have no food to sell. World transportation shut down. Planes not flying, ships not coming, and we facing starvation in a place with sunlight, which kills COVID. At least the sunlight gets our plants to grow. And we have in some places very good soil, and we have a lot of idle people, and that idleness, they get sucked into activity which invariably ends up in front of the police, in front of the magistrate. We are going to change that. We're going right back there, but it has to be done by an allocation by the state. And that is why, in response to the misbehavior that took place here a few weeks ago, I appointed what I would want to call a high-power team to look at this issue again. I'm going back there again. And to make recommendations for actions. And as soon as the election is over, we go straight into preparing the budget. And in that budget, we'll have an allocation of $500 million for agricultural effort, new agricultural effort. A portion of that money will be used to put some young people from Horquetta onto land and into agricultural enterprise, because that's what we have to do. And even as we give the farmers guaranteed prices for specific products that they will produce, even if the books of that agency show a loss, it will not be a loss to the country, because you'll be paying that money to the farmers who produce it. And you will be keeping farmers in farming, and you will be having food security. We're going back there. We're going back there. And that is what the immediate future holds for the young people of Horquetta and similar areas in and around the country. Because we're not only doing that here, you know. We're doing it in central Trinidad. We have a cattle producer in central Trinidad who has moved from where he was onto new lands. The cabinet approved significant acreage for that farmer to expand. There's another farmer who is expanding a serious millions of dollars into duck production. We are already self-sufficient in poultry, so we can be self-sufficient or near to it in other things. All we have to do is to provide the support that is required to people who genuinely want to change the circumstance. Because I know, like you know, there are some people in this country who have been involved in this lack of productivity for so long that they genuinely believe that they don't have to work. Get up in the morning, meet a partner, and line. And then invariably at the end of the month, at the end of the night, at the end of the day, you hear somebody get killed, usually with a firearm, and usually what they were doing, they were liming. So if you came from Mars and you come to Trinidad, your partner from Mars will tell you, when you go down to Trinidad, they will lime. Because liming sounds like a very dangerous thing. We need to get more productive activity from people who may not be able to find the avenues themselves, but if they are guided in the right way by the right programs, I have every confidence that they want to make something of it for themselves and for their families. And that is the trust that we have in our people, and we have to guide them to that place, and I will guide you to that place. You would have heard them before us talking about agriculture. When we came into government, if you're going to be a farmer planting things, you have to have planting material. What are you going to plant? You can't plant woods. They had no planting material. We set about to produce 1 million pieces of planting material, from zabuka to teak, from apamat to oranges and grapefruit plants. And we're still on that program, creating planting material. We had a disease on citrus. Very quickly, Dr. Allen was able to find a solution where we went abroad and got new planting material and restarted and restocked our nurseries. We're not talking agriculture, We're doing it. I am a registered farmer. I sweat, I dirty my hand, I clean my sheep pen, I cut bush, I go in the forest, and I'm still the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago. So you see, forget the pak choy politics. You all come out and vote for the PNM and vote for a bright future. And I plead guilty to a lot of things, not just that program. I plead guilty to fixing the Petrotrin problem for the people of Pointe-à-Pierre and of San Fernando and of, because what has come out of the Petrotrin fix is a more sound and solid future for the people of Point 14. We're going on to the Soldado field, investing more and taking more action. It takes a little time because you're fixing it. But already you're seeing the results of the fix. Heritage is already in its first year making $1.5 billion in profit as against the old Petrotrin arrangement where we were losing $2 billion a year. And in that arrangement, a drunken man and a galloping horse could see that you're going in the right direction with that arrangement. And I ask you, the owners, which company do you prefer? The one that was guaranteed to lose you $2 million a year, or the one that is now making you $1.5 billion in profit? Which one do you want? So I'm guilty of that. We made the NGC almost bankrupt. We had to take action, serious action in the whole gas pricing situation, the whole gas contracting situation to bring the NGC back into some profitability because the NGC was the government's largest money owner. It's your company. Biggest money owner in the country. They bring it down to the door of bankruptcy. Come in and meet it with $15 billion in the bank. Paying dividends to the Minister of Finance, has 500 million, 400 million, but the Minister of Finance knows the money is there and he budgets to use some of it. They use out every cent. The NGC must have been the only company that the government caused to pay dividends 3 or 4 times a year. That's what they did. From 15 billion to bankruptcy. And what galls me, I see a big fat fella in a yellow shirt last night on a platform somewhere, talking about the government this and the government that and the. He was the Minister of Energy, But he is qualified to go on that platform. That platform, yellow fever. Yellow fever. Every time you see them, you think about the yellow fever. Dangerous and deadly. But we fixed that, so I plead guilty to that. I plead guilty. Those of you who saw the Minister of Finance talking to the country last night about our financial situation would know that one of the things we did, we reduced and almost eliminated the fuel subsidy. That fuel subsidy was your money. Government doesn't have any money. The government is just a management team that managing your money. And what the government was doing was using your money against you. When we were paying that fuel subsidy, every Tom, Dick, and Harry in this country was burning up fuel, whether it's in the traffic jam, or driving the car, everybody in a car going to town, the one thing you never thought of when you're going to move from where you are to go somewhere else is the cost of the fuel. Who in Trinidad and Tobago was going anywhere and said, but I'm not going because it can burn gas? Who? But that's how you were using your money. 2014, 2015. That subsidy, that money of yours that you were allowing to be used, $4 billion of it was used in fuel subsidy. Meaning that you can't afford to pay the subsidy, you can't afford to pay the price of the fuel, so the government was paying it for you. The government was not paying it for you. It's you who are paying it for yourself, but paying it in that way. A man buy a Benz, one buy a Range Rover, one buy a Porsche. And all of a sudden, he can't pay the price of the fuel. So he gets subsidized fuel. And then at the end of the year, in a year where you can't find enough money to buy medicine for the hospital, you would have paid $4 billion in fuel subsidy. You here in Horquetta, traffic to your age, to go out and to come in. You park up in the traffic, burning gas because your air condition running. That's how you're spending your money. What we have done, two things. One, we are actively removing every traffic light between Port of Spain and Horquetta. We have just finished the one at Kirap, and I must say, I'm sure you all are pleased with that. And we have two more. There are two more on the drawing board. Immediately after the election, the contracts have to be awarded for the other two. One by Macoya, one by the airport junction, the Piaco junction, and then you're almost home. Right? So then you'll be burning less fuel then. And of course, that $4 billion that we've removed, that is money that kept you in your public service job. And of course, we're still paying a small amount of fuel because subsidy, because when the price goes above a certain level, that's when the subsidy kicks in. When the price is low, the subsidy doesn't kick in, but your revenue loss kicks in. Understand? So whenever you see the price going up and you say, the price is going up, you're burning it up in fuel, in the road. So we are dealing with these kinds of problems, and I plead guilty to that. I plead guilty. But you know something? As I plead guilty to this, there are some people who don't want to plead guilty at all. I plead guilty to what I have done or what I'm doing. I want to take you, Horquetta, Talparo, down Future Lane. You must have gone down Memory Lane because you were here in 2015. Let's go down Future Lane. Because you see, I told you, some of them not even waiting until they get into government to engage in criminality, you know. They're coming with it into the government. As a matter of fact, it might even be a prerequisite to get selected. I have a top 10 here of the people who are vying to run Trinidad and Tobago in the next week or so, right? This is not a joke. This is serious business. There's an election here in a week. A team of people carefully selected by a leader will approach the polling station hoping to be selected over other people to get permission to run the country. Let me pick out the top 10. This is just 10 of them. One, have questions to answer about human trafficking and the expansion of prostitution in this country. That is one. Another one was summarily dismissed from a state enterprise for dishonorable conduct. That is two. Another one, he heard that a member of staff had gone to a prayer meeting to pray to God He fired the person for having gone to that prayer meeting in this country where every creed and race supposed to find an equal place. This morning, I wake up this morning in a mosque. I wake up 5 o'clock, and by 7 o'clock I was in a mosque, and I spent the whole prayer session with people who are worshipping Islam. You all didn't see me? This Trinidad. I wake up in a mosque this morning, but he fired the worker for having gone to a prayer meeting. You, all of you sitting down here, had to pay towards $175,000 that to pay the worker. He going back to Parliament because he in a safe seat. Because they have safe seats, you know. We in the PNM, we don't have the luxury of safe seats. We have to earn your vote. We have to earn your support because you are the country that voted out PNM 33-3. And the only place in this country where the PNM was never voted out of office when you were unhappy with our policies and programs is Buku in Tobago and Laventil and San Fernando East. Every other part of this country, every other part in this country at some time, when PNM supporters are dissatisfied with PNM's policies or rate of progress, they vote the PNM out of office, but them have safe seat. Them have safe seat. So a man like that, he is going back to Parliament because he in a safe seat. The one who has questions to answer about bringing in whatever he bringing in for the pleasures of him and his friends and his girlfriends and boyfriends, he going to Parliament too. He in a safe seat. Right? The other one that came from TSTT with a record of dishonorable discharge, he in a safe seat. Because some people in this country don't give a hoot who they put the country's business in, as long as one qualification is met. Now, the other one, number 4, while I'm pleading guilty to what I just pled guilty to, he have warrant issues with the police looking for he. Right, number 4. Number 5, police looking for she. Legal proceedings with a name on it. The name on warrants all about in the government department. The commissioner of police and the newspaper arguing about who leaked what to who and who. Look at the stories. Number 6, when you're nice, you're nice. I want a porn star. Number 7, on a rape charge. Number 8, fighting extradition to America. Number 9, under investigation at a state enterprise for misconduct. Number 10, already tastes foreign jail and has made a name for himself. He telling people what they already know, that the UNC can't lead a cat out of a paper bag rather than lead a country. You know that? He knows that. He knows that. You know he knows that? Because the PNM turned him down. While he was campaigning for the UNC, he come to the PNM and asked for space. No, we said, not on your Nelly. We're going to meet you in the polling station. That's the kind of people. And of course, they are all led by the ringmaster. Those are the people in whose hands you are being asked to put the country in this difficult period, this dangerous period. What do you think is going to be the outcome of that? What do you think will be the outcome of that? And let me show you something. One of the people I mentioned here, the one who was dismissed from a state enterprise. This is not allegation, this is fact. The company wanted to buy something, equipment. He find a company that is not a normal regular supplier of the state enterprise. Select that company to award the contract to. The company got the money up front before the equipment was delivered. He paid the company before the equipment was delivered. Then the company could not deliver the equipment, and the company claimed not to be able to repay the money. So you lost our money. Because as I told you, it's not government money, it's your money. Now, he coming into government with that record because he have a safe seat. But that modus operandi, aren't you familiar with it? And I swear to my God that it is because of what he did at TSTT why Mrs. Kamala Prasad Bisesa selected him to come to Parliament. Because listen to what happened under her. Because this little fella, that was a $4 million caper, right? But let me tell you about a $1 billion caper that she presided over. NGC hired a contractor. The contractor was not the best contractor in the bidding process, but he got the job anyway. Same thing like the fella in TSTT. Went to the wrong contractor. The contractor didn't do the work, but got paid. It is the same thing. Tried to get the money back from the contractor ran and left the country the day after election. Isn't that the same thing? Except that this little fella who have a safe seat who coming in, his thing is $4 million. The one under the existing leader is $1.2 billion. $1.2 billion. And that contractor got 80% of that money and had only done 40% of the work. But it's the same model. The model is find a contractor who ain't qualified for the job, give them the job, overpriced, they ain't perform, they take the money, and if the PNM doesn't come after them, they keep it. Or if the PNM comes after them, they run out the country. That is not a Nancy story. What I've just stated there to you are facts of the situation. Facts. So today, I open the paper. Every day you open the paper. Those of you who been brought up in the Christian religion like me, you would know what an epiphany is. Right? But apparently an epiphany took place at that party headquarters. And they've suddenly woken up to all the things that can be done when you get your hand on public money. Because before, they didn't know it. The epiphany has just occurred, so they now know what to do with public money. In a difficult time like this, when all of us know fact that the country was short of money tight, that is when we repaired President House, repaired the Parliament, repaired Whitehall, repaired Neil Fleur, built the Currap Overpass, built the Moruga Agro Processing Plant, finished the Brian Lara Stadium, built the Diego Martin Sports Complex. That's when we did it. Because when we had your money, that's what we did with it. They are now telling you, if given a chance again, they will know how to spend your money. So they're publishing on the papers now every day. The one they published today is something that says, let's fix the infrastructure once and for all. So in the epiphany, they realize, let's fix the infrastructure once and for all. So the things to be done, like the overpasses to be built that I mentioned a while ago, they are now saying, by public advertisement in yellow, we will fix the infrastructure once and for all. They attempted to build the Currap roundabout. It ended up in a dog and cat fight in the cabinet and in the government. Minister get fired. It was so scandalous, the contract was never consummated. They had 3 contractors threatening to sue the government on that roundabout. They tried a solution. When they got mixed up in that situation, they say, you know what? Since 3 contractors have a case against us, let us solve it by giving each contractor a piece of the contract. We're going to give one contractor the northern part going towards Currap. We're going to give the other one the piece over the road. And we're going to give the 3rd contractor the piece going down towards Federal Settlement on the south side. Well, the contractor said, okay, thank you very much, but the price for it is about 3 times the price in the bid. Even the UNC couldn't swallow that. And they never awarded the contract. When we came in, we canceled those arrangements, went back out to tender. Their award was going to be for $444 million to build that Kirep overpass. We built it for $219 million. So in one project, just by having the right government and the right people in office, this country saved over $200 million. And that is why we are saying, without fear of contradiction, that the PNM is the right choice. You see, they're now as they walk out of their dream, Rip Van Winkle just got up. Let's fix the infrastructure once and for all. One of the major pieces of infrastructure in this country is the link between Trinidad and Tobago. This country is Trinidad and Tobago. And when we came into office, the two old boats that we had going between Trinidad and Tobago that were bought as used vessels, requiring maintenance of a very high level, got no maintenance at all because they were sleeping then. They didn't wake up then like Rip Van Winkle. They didn't have the epiphany that they should spend public money on public business. So they spent no money on the maintenance of the Express and the Spirit. The Spirit was maintained, took 9 months to fix it. And the Express was so badly run down, it could not be repaired. They didn't know what to do with public money then. We have just now bought 2 vessels to fix that piece of infrastructure. They're now adding the papers with the face of all kind of questionable people. Some of them don't even know their cell phone, they see it in video. Right? Right? And telling you that they are going to fix infrastructure once and for all. Well, ladies and gentlemen, in Tobago, you people here in Talparo know what Tobago talk. Don't leave daylight to see anything and wait until night to take flambeau to go and look for it. You know the UNC, you know them well, you know them personally, you know their record, you know their behavior, you know their intention, and it's all bad. All. From any angle you view them, they have questions to answer. And you, the people of Horquetta, you have a responsibility to take a stand on Monday, election Monday, August 10th. You have a responsibility not to go and take a few dollars from somebody who you should call the police for. Because I'll tell you all something. If anybody gives you money with the intention of asking you for your vote, you can call the police. That is a crime. Buying somebody's vote is unlawful. Don't let anybody make you feel that whenever there's an election, you could bargain for your vote. That is the lowest of the low. And when you people get involved in that, it can only get worse. Because what you're doing is corrupting and criminalizing the country. And if they're going to thief on the way into office, what the hell do you think they'll do when they get there? What do you think? If they could be so disrespectful to you, to know that you know that the money that they're giving you is your money that they thief, what do you think they're going to do when they get there? What do you expect, a miracle? Well, I'm waiting patiently to see if you will let me down. I'm waiting patiently. I have boundless faith in this country and in you, the people of Trinidad and Tobago. I have confidence in you. It is that confidence that I have in you. It is that confidence that I have in you. Why, when we were faced with COVID-19 and they were jumping up and down, they always know what to do when they're out of office and coming and telling me, declare state of emergency. I said, no way. I have faith in the people of Trinidad and Tobago, and we are going to work this out together without any state of emergency. And we're doing that. And even as today we are challenged by a few more confirmations, I ask you to stay the course. Allow your leadership to keep leading you and to use the science and the investment we made in the doctors and the nurses and the caregivers and the hospitals that we have built and the program we put in place, which in the world we rank #1 for that program. #1. And given the advice they gave us and the advice that we took from our people in the health department, I could say, no, I want no advice from those UNT advisors, none. Because every piece of advice they gave us is bad advice. Have a state of emergency. Open the bars, don't close the rum shop. They had to sell chicken. They were opposed to us closing down the bars. By now, so we go on, we could not identify ourselves. Right? You can't close down the country because people are going to lose their jobs. Don't close the border because you have people outside to come home to vote. And if anybody gets sick, no problem, give them bleach to drink. That is their package, you know. That is their package. But worse is that the epiphany that they got to fix the country when they get their hand on money, they know what the money is. They now know what the money is. The money is in the UTC. So I couldn't believe what I was hearing. An aspirant for the post of Prime Minister putting in manifesto that they're going to mobilize the idle resources at the UTC. Ladies and gentlemen, do not take this lightly. These people have done far worse. And it is possible for them to either bring pressure to bear on or put who they want in there to do what they want. Because let me tell you something. It's that campus they built down in Debe, the Debe campus, which we now use for, they're using the dorms in the COVID fight. That is a campus of the University of the West Indies. The first time we hear about that campus is when the government started to build it down there as a law school. Remember that story? It was supposed to be a law school that they were building for their constituents because most of their constituents, they say, were studying law. So instead of bringing them up to St. Augustine to go to the law school, they started to build a law school in Debe. The next thing we know, they built a full-fledged campus. And you know who found out about that? Found out about it? The University of the West Indies. By collusion between leadership in the university and the government of Trinidad and Tobago, they built a campus here that had to be ratified at UWI. Because the UWI leadership at the top never took that decision to build that campus there. It was a government of Trinidad and Tobago prime ministerial decision to build a campus in her constituency with Munilal. And up to now, the university don't know what to do with it. Because when I came in as prime minister, the university came to me asking me what to do with it. I said, what you're asking me is your university. They come up with one proposal, another one. Up to now, the university does not have a clear direction as to what to do with that campus because it was built by Kamla Prasad Bisesa for her own benefit and political grandeur. That's what it is. So if you think that she wouldn't find a way to get to your money in UTC, think again. And then when I spoke about it and objected to it because it has the potential to damage the UTC, a head of a government talking that stupidness with that kind of record only could create nervousness among the owners of the money, which is you, the people. And she tried to rectify it and saying that I am wrong. And Robert Lee Hunt don't know what he's talking about, right? So she rectified. And here how she rectified. She said that Rowley don't know what idle cash balance is. And she's not surprised because he's a rock man. But Lee Hunt should know what idle cash balance is in the accounts in the UTC that are not earning interest. Well, you know, I have an account in Royal Bank West Mall with a few US dollars in it, right? It has not been earning any interest now for years. So anytime any other passing by Royal Bank, go and take it. Because it's idle. It's idle. It's not being used and it's earning no interest. So whenever you go to West Mall, just go in the bank and take it and go. That is the kind of foolishness they propose as plan. Dangerous dotishness, I call that. And as for the NIB, that is easier to manipulate. Easier. Because the government appoints the board there, and the government have a big hand in there with Labour, and Labour might even think it's a good thing to let it go there. Ladies and gentlemen, we in the PNM, facing this COVID issue, and a PNM Prime Minister, early o'clock, we decided we have to have a post-COVID plan. And it wasn't only a plan by the government, because right now, as a political party, we have prepared a manifesto, and in the next 48 hours or so, it will be out. It will be a document that binds us to certain kinds of direction of management. So we did a manifesto, but we did it against the background that a national plan has been prepared called a roadmap to recovery for post-COVID. So you've got to read the two documents side by side, and there's a phase 2 to come to me in about a week or so, and then the country will have a direction, and that direction that the cabinet didn't do was done by 22 of the brightest, most experienced people in a wide cross-section that looked at our country, looked at our circumstance, and agreed to make that talent available to create an apolitical roadmap. Winston Dukaran is there. Vasant Bharat agreed to be there. Some of our captains of industry are there, all bringing something to the table. So the plan that we have there, it have no other plan. That is the plan by the people of Trinidad and Tobago. The other plan is the one to interfere with UTC and NIB and to start back carrying the sugar company. Craziness, if you ask me. And what is amazing is that there are people in this country who should know better. If the PNM had put forward that package of dotishness, they would know what to say, though. They would know what to say. But it seems as though in this country, criticism can only come forward when the PNM is the target. Let me, as PNM leader, put up anybody on a rape charge. And every woman in this country, in every organization, would know what to call me. Let me put up a PNM person who has been fired from a state enterprise for that level of fraud I just mentioned a while ago, and they would know what to call the PNM. But there are people actively running interference to protect the UNC. They have the imps all over the country to protect them in the hope that you will vote for them blindly. Well, I tell you now, you know enough, you see enough, you want no more, and come August 10th, they are not an option for the people of Trinidad and Tobago. And for those of you who figure, one thing with pak choy, don't last long, eh? It grows fast. You're going to eat it early, otherwise one or two things are going to happen to it. The leaves get eaten very quickly by moths, or it immediately flowers and becomes inedible. Pak choy, fast, eat it quick, meal done. Understood? But the PNS program is resilient, and it has a future for young men and young women. And La Horquetta is to be taken out of wherever you are, not by pak choy politics, but by the vision of the PNM under Foster Cummings. And I always say to you all, and I'm saying this without any fear of contradiction, they have promised the country in all its facets and components to Tom, Dick, and Harry. Everybody has a promise as to what they're going to get and what they're going to be. There are lawsuits in the court where people are making huge claims against the government. This government fought those lawsuits. They have gone to those people and said to them, give us some money. We're going to pay the money when we come in. Whatever you're claiming, you're going to pay it. Understand? That's what's going on. But I, as leader of this country, leader of this party, I have made no deal with any one of these people. Not one of them I've made a deal with. When you elect them, they have to wait and see what the Prime Minister wants them to do and where they're going to be located in the government of Trinidad and Tobago. They made no deal, and they can make no deal because I am not about me and myself and my enrichment. Dr. Eric Williams governed this country for a very long time. I don't know where his house is. I heard he had a property in Goodwood Park. I don't know. I just heard that. But Dr. Williams never had anything that anybody could ask him where they get that from. A.N.R. Robinson came in as Prime Minister, came with all his houses and left with what he came with. George Chambers had his house in Santa Margarita with the bird cage, came in with the bird cage, and he left with the bird cage. Patrick Manning had his house in Union, came in with a house, served as Prime Minister twice, got elected many times, came back, go back to Union Park where he lived, or wherever he lived in San Fernando. I came into government on the same Prime Minister salary. I came with a house in Goodwood Park and one in Mason. I still have them, thank God. I haven't become a millionaire. But there are people who, when the Pink Palace was being built by contractors, the contractor had to paint off his name from his equipment because he didn't want the country to know that he had the distinguished assignment of constructing for the Prime Minister. Because they believe if you don't know, you can be taken advantage of. Last week when The Guardian published a story about EMBD where you lost $500 million in 1 month, the only issue they had with it is how that come out, how that story come out. That was the only issue they have, you know. Who leaked that? I think you know enough. Enough to know that on August 10th, come rain, come shine, you have a duty to come out to vote. And if you don't vote, young or old, especially if you're young and you don't vote, what you're saying, you don't care what happens. You don't care about your future. At least I could excuse the older ones because they have already got from this country much of what the country has to offer them. And you could lose that too. But the younger ones, you young people, especially those of you here in La Horquetta, where you find yourself in this kind of neighborhood, where we have to build a future to take you out from here. You cannot participate in the luxury of not caring, or worse, that you have a dream like them, and you somehow believe that we are the same. We are not the same. The PNM is in a class by itself where politics is concerned in this country. We are not the same. And I know that on August 10th, enough people in this country will take a stand in defense of Trinidad and Tobago and the people of Trinidad and Tobago and stay away from repeating what we have experienced before. And when they do that, enough of those votes will be cast for the PNM. Will allow us to come out wherever we are on the night of Monday, August 10th, after we have voted everywhere across Trinidad and Tobago. We're going to vote in such a way that the PNM will come out and shout to this country, great is the PNM, great is the PNM, great is the PNM, and we shall prevail.
Just keep the faith, heads up high. We're together in this, you and I. Yes, the job will be done and the race will be won. And we know we will win every time. And we go vote for the love of we country. We go vote to protect the country. We go vote, it's only Dr. Rowley. The right choice for TNT. PNM is the choice. PNM is the voice. PNM all the way on election day. Is the right choice at the right time. Hands in the air for the body. Say, hey, introducing my friend, the chairman, Lord, get the boy, I support Anyway, right choice, proud leader, the battle for your nation, your life matter, yeah. We leadership, yo, we promise you forever, yo. For PNM and everything will be much better, yeah. Check that online, 5 years of government. Never again will be alone. Mismanagement, PNM is here to stay them lonely. Loyal to the flag and never about the establishment. Who them try to cheat and sell. But them can't buy my vote, me number one. Them better move when we're army are run on. All these equal people will help but no. Let me show you that. Dr. Rowley, a leader phenomenal. The youth one family. All are we is one family. Working together to build this country. When the world was shaking, everyone agree. When the world was shaking, happy it was see. So that is why we voted for Dr. Rowley. Say super, say super, say super. Super blue. Hey, hey.
Sprinkle water. This is ready from the higher.
Spirit is here.
Where the valleys they hit.
But the doctor, I say,
We rock, we rock, we rock, we rock, we rock.
it was a sprinkle all over it. Sprinkle, 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 sprinkle. Ladies and gentlemen, great is the PNM, great is the PNM, great is the PNM, and we will always prevail. Thank you very much. God bless you. Good night.
Thank you very much to our listening, viewing, and live audiences for making the right choice tonight. Thank you to the chairman of the Tunapuna Piarco Corporation and councillors. Thank you to the campaign manager, constituency chairman, constituency executive, La Horquetta Talparo, party operations officer. Thank you for such a successful meeting. To our speakers and future members of parliament, thank you. Trinidad and Tobago, look out for more of these virtual campaign meetings. And remember, on August the 10th, cast your votes resoundingly for the People's National Movement. And I just want to wish our national community happy Emancipation Day on this, the eve of emancipation. From all of us in the People's National Movement, ladies and gentlemen, get home safely. God bless you. God bless our nation. Great is the PNM.
The preceding program was a paid political broadcast.